Hello and welcome to A Brief History. Today's episode, the Civil War. Hold on. That's better. Ready, set, go! November 6th, 1860. Abraham Lincoln wins a four-way race for President of the United States. Although he does not win the popular majority, he earns enough electoral votes to beat all other opponents. Due to a Republican winning an election when he wasn't even on the ballot in 9 southern states, which were supremely Democratic, by the way, the South is outraged so much so that on December 20th, 1860, South Carolina officially seceded from the Union, becoming the first state to do so, followed by Mississippi on January 9th, Florida on the 10th, Alabama on the 11th, Georgia on the 19th, Louisiana on the 26th, and Texas on February 1st. March 4th, 1861. Abraham Lincoln is inaugurated as the 16th President of the United States. In his inaugural address, he says,
"It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more!"
giving a stark warning to the South that he will not tolerate secession. But the South didn't listen, because literally a week later, on March 11th, the Constitution of the Confederate States of America was signed in Montgomery, Alabama. April 12th, 1861. Confederate forces under General P.G.T. Beauregard bombard Major Robert Anderson and his Union soldiers at Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina. The Civil War officially begins. After 2 days of bombardment, on April 14, 1861, Major Robert Anderson surrenders Fort Sumter to Confederate forces. After news of the invasion spread, Virginia seceded from the Union on April 17, 1861, Arkansas on May 6th, Tennessee on May 7th, and North Carolina on May 20th. 4th of July, 1861. Lincoln addresses Congress and requests the enlistment of a Union army. Congress authorizes a call for 500,000 men. It is clear now that the war will not be short. July 21st, 1861. The First Battle of Bull Run pits Union General Irvin McDowell against the new Confederate Army. McDowell is defeated, causing a panicked retreat back to Washington, which is about 40 miles away. The withdrawal is hampered by the large number of spectators who were there to see the battle. Wait, seriously? Even if you were confident that your side would win, they were using muskets, which at this point still couldn't have been 100% accurate, and these morons thought it would be okay to picnic there with their families? March 9th, 1862. The Confederate ironclad USS Merrimack battles the Union ironclad USS Monitor in Chesapeake Bay. The battle is a draw, but it makes wooden ships obsolete and ushers in an era of steel warships, changing naval battle forever. April 8th to April 9th, 1862. Union General Ulysses S. Grant's forces are surprised at the town of Shiloh in Tennessee. The ensuing battle results in 13,000 Union and 10,000 Confederate casualties, more than in all previous American wars combined. June 1st, 1862. General Robert E. Lee assumes command of the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia. June 25th, 1862. Over the course of 7 days of fighting, General Robert E. Lee attacks George McClellan's Union Army of the Potomac near Richmond, Virginia. Huge casualties caused McClellan to withdraw north towards Washington. August 30th. The Second Battle of Bull Run is a resounding victory for Confederate General Stonewall Jackson. Union General John Pope is blamed for the loss and is relieved of his duties after the battle. September 17th, 1862. The Battle of Antietam is the bloodiest day in United States history. Over 26,000 men are killed, wounded, or missing in action on both sides. Though officially a draw, the battle stops General Robert E. Lee's invasion of Maryland, and he retreats back to Virginia. September 22nd, 1862. Lincoln issues a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, which declares his intention to free all slaves in any new territory captured by the Union Army. December 13th, 1862. The Union Army, under General Ambrose E. Burnside, suffers a horrible defeat at the Battle of Fredericksburg in Virginia. 14 individual assaults at an entrenched Confederate position cost the Union 13,000 casualties. January 1st, 1863. Happy New Year! Can I have something festive? That's it? Well, you tried, I guess. Anyway, Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation. It frees all slaves in territory captured by the Union Army, and orders the enlistment of black soldiers. From this point forward, the Civil War is a war over slavery. March 3rd. Congress enacts the first draft in American history, requiring every man to serve in the Army, unless he can furnish a substitute or pay the government $300. These escape provisions are wildly unpopular with workers and recent immigrants, and lead to draft riots in New York and other northern cities. May 1st to May 4th, 1863. Over the course of 3 days, Robert E. Lee divides his army in the face of a larger enemy, and manages to defeat the Union Army in Chancellorsville, led by Joe Hooker. The North suffers 17,000 casualties, the South 13,000. May 10th. When Confederate General Thomas Stonewall Jackson dies from wounds sustained when he was mistakenly shot by his own troops at Chancellorsville. Jesus, I couldn't imagine how that conversation went. Sir, Stonewall was killed. What? Did he at least take those Union bastards with him? No, he was shot by Jerry. Jerry! July 1st to July 4th. The Union Army, under General Meade, defeats Robert E. Lee's Confederate Army at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. One of the bloodiest battles of the war, Gettysburg is a turning point, and marks the farthest advance of the Confederate Army into Northern Territory. July 3rd, 1863. On the third day of the Battle of Gettysburg, General Robert E. Lee orders General George Pickett to assault entrenched Union positions. And what would become known as Pickett's Charge, more than half of the 12,000 Confederate soldiers who participate in the charge are slaughtered as they walk slowly across a 3/4-mile field into a hail of gunfire. July 4th, 1863. Far to the west on the Mississippi River, General Ulysses S. Grant takes Vicksburg after a long siege. At this point, the Union controls the entire river, cutting the Confederacy in two. July 13th through the 16th. When the government attempts to begin conscription, riots break out in New York and other northern cities. In New York, 120 men, women, and children are killed before Union troops returning from Gettysburg restore order. September 19th. Union General William Rosecrans is defeated by Confederate General Braxton Bragg at the Battle of Chickamauga in Tennessee. November 19th, 1863. President Lincoln delivers the 2-minute Gettysburg Address at the dedication of the National Cemetery at the battlefield in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. March 9th, 1864. Lincoln appoints Ulysses S. Grant commander of all Union armies, ending his long search for a decent general to command Northern forces. General William T. Sherman takes over as commander in the West. May 4th. Beginning a drive aimed at ending the war, Ulysses S. Grant and 120,000 troops marched south towards Richmond, the Confederate capital. Over the course of the next 6 weeks, a brutal war of attrition results in the deaths of nearly 50,000 Union soldiers. May 4th to May 5th. During the horrific Battle of the Wilderness, thousands of men burned to death as the woods in which they were fighting catch fire. May 8th to May 12th. Continuing his advance, Union General Ulysses S. Grant attacks Robert E. Lee's Confederate forces at Spotsylvania. Grant loses more soldiers than Lee. Still, General Lee is forced to retreat south. June 1st to June 3rd. The bloody Battle of Cold Harbor is a disaster for the Union. General Ulysses S. Grant makes a series of tactical mistakes that result in the deaths of 7,000 Union in 20 minutes. June 15th, 1864. With the beginning of the siege of Petersburg, south of Richmond, the mobile war of the past month ends, replaced by a 9-month siege. September 2nd. Union General William T. Sherman captures Atlanta and burns it to the ground. November 15th. Union General Sherman begins his famous March to the Sea, cutting a swath of destruction 300 miles long and 60 miles wide through Virginia. All war is hell, he comments. December 15th. The Confederate Army of the Tennessee is crushed by the Union Army of the Cumberland at Nashville. The war in the West is nearly over. December 21st. Savannah is captured, ending the march to the sea. Union General Sherman offers the city to Lincoln as a Christmas present. January 31st. The United States Congress approves the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which will abolish slavery. March 4th, 1865. Lincoln is sworn in for his second term as President of the United States. April 2nd. The siege of Petersburg ends as Ulysses S. Grant's army breaks through Confederate lines and marches towards Richmond. The same day, the Union Army captures Richmond, Virginia, which is nearly leveled by shelling and fire. April 9th. General Robert E. Lee surrenders to General Ulysses S. Grant in a farmhouse in the town of Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia. The war is over. April 14th, 1865. Abraham Lincoln is shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln does not regain consciousness after being shot at Ford's Theater. 9 hours later, on April 15th, he dies from his wound. April 18th. General Joe Johnston, leading the largest Confederate army still in existence, surrenders in North Carolina. December 6th, 1865. The 13th Amendment is ratified by the United States. Slavery is now abolished.
It's time to stop!
The end.